My name is Leslie Moore, and I am 36 years old. And last Christmas morning, in my mother's living room, I watched my 7-year-old son learn exactly where he stood in this family, dead last. It was 9:47 a.m., and Mom's house looked like a department store had detonated. Tinsel everywhere, mugs of cocoa half finished, wrapping paper already spilling off the coffee table. My sister Ashley lounged on the couch with her husband Brad, while their 3 kids bounced around like squirrels after espresso shots. Jackson sat quietly beside my chair, Batman pajamas, messy hair, bare feet tucked under him. He was excited when we drove over. That excitement drained with every second that followed. Mom started her Santa duties, handing out presents with dramatic gasps, making sure Ashley's phone caught everything. "This one's for Emma," Emma squealed, tore open the box. A brand new iPad. Ashley clapped. Brad filmed. The younger kids screamed. Then another one. Emma again. A new bike. Pink. Sparkly. Streamers. She wrote it in circles inside the living room. More. Another Lego castle. New clothes. Books. Sweaters. 14 gifts for Emma alone. Then Mom pivoted to Aiden. "Aiden, sweetie, this one's for you." He ripped open a Nintendo Switch and shrieked so loud it rattled windows. More boxes followed. Roller skates, art supplies, puzzles. 12 gifts for Aiden. Then Lily, the youngest. Stuffed animals, toy cars, puzzles, blocks. 10 gifts. Jackson sat cross-legged on the carpet, hands in his lap, watching them scream and hug their grandmother, watching his cousins drown in gifts while he sat in the cold shadow of nothing. Every time Mom pulled a gift from under the tree, my eyes scanned the name tag. Emma, Aiden, Lily, Ashley, Brad. Not one label said Jackson. I felt the first twist of nausea, then the second. By the 10th present with someone else's name, the nausea turned into something worse, a quiet, growing rage. Mom didn't even notice him. By 10:34 a.m., the last gift was opened, and still, nothing. Jackson finally looked up at me, wide, brave, blinking fast, trying not to cry. That look is what broke me. Not the favoritism, not the math. 36 gifts for Ashley's kids, 0 for my son. But the moment my child realized his grandmother simply hadn't remembered he existed, I stood. "Come on, buddy." He didn't ask why. He just stood up and slipped on his shoes. Mom looked up from her phone, still recording Lily smashing her new toys. "Oh, Leslie, leaving already? We haven't had breakfast." "We're going." Ashley twisted around, scarf still around her neck. "What? Why? We're doing brunch at 11. I didn't answer. I took Jackson's hand and walked to the door. Mom followed, confused. "Where are you going? Leslie, wait!" Cold wind hit us when I opened the door. Jackson stepped outside, quiet and small. Mom hovered behind me, arms crossed. "Don't be dramatic," she said. "I must have forgotten. I'll buy him something tomorrow." "Tomorrow. Not today, not Christmas." I buckled Jackson in the car. Mom knocked on my window. "Leslie, seriously, you're acting ridiculous." I backed out without another word. Jackson stared out the window the whole drive home. Not crying, not complaining, just silent. We got home at 11:52 a.m. He went straight to his room, quietly closed the door, didn't slam it, didn't sulk. That almost hurt more. I stood in the hallway, listening to the silence of a child trying not to feel unwanted. Then something in me snapped. Not loudly, not dramatically, but with the cold precision of a mother who'd reached her limit. I walked into my office, turned on my laptop, and opened the folder labeled Estate Planning. Last will. Living trust. Beneficiary designations. Life insurance. 6 months ago, I'd calculated the total. $847,000. If I died tomorrow, my mother Linda and my sister Ashley would inherit nearly half. The same people who just treated my son like wallpaper. Not anymore. I created a new document, typed slowly, deliberately. Effective immediately, Linda Moore and Ashley Green are removed as beneficiaries of all estate holdings and policies. New distribution. Primary beneficiary, Jackson Moore, 80%. Secondary beneficiary, Children's Hospital Foundation, 20%. Signed. Date, December 25th. Notarized online within 15 minutes. Filed with my attorney. Uploaded at 2:17 p.m. Then I called my financial advisor. "Leslie, Merry Christmas. I need to update all my beneficiaries, all accounts." "All?" Yes, remove my mother and sister. Replace with Jackson, 80%, Children's Hospital 20. He hesitated. This is a major change. Can I ask what sparked it? No. He didn't ask again. 20 minutes later, everything was updated. My phone buzzed, Dad calling. I stared at the screen, let it ring 4 times, then answered. Hey, listen, he started. Not Merry Christmas, not How's Jackson. I need a favor. Transmission's shot. They want $4,200. Can you spot me? I'll pay you back. I opened my spreadsheet. Dad loans, master list. $31,000 in 5 years. Not one repayment. No, I said. Silence. What do you mean no? I mean no. But I need my car. Figure it out. What's wrong with you? This is because of this morning, isn't it? I'm done funding people who forget my son exists. He scoffed. You're being dramatic. Kids forget presents in a week. I hung up. By 6:47 p.m., I had 47 missed calls. Mom, Ashley, Dad, Brad from unknown numbers, voicemails full of excuses, guilt trips, accusations. I deleted every message. After dinner, I knocked on Jackson's door. He was drawing a superhero, carefully staying inside the lines. You okay, buddy? Yeah. He didn't look up. Are we going back to Grandma's? No, I said softly. Not for a while. He nodded, like he already knew. And in that moment, I vowed something, quietly, fiercely. My son would never again feel forgotten in a room full of people who claimed to love him. Not on Christmas, not ever. The morning after Christmas felt strange, like waking up after a storm. The house was quiet in a way I wasn't used to. No ringing phones yet, no forced cheer, no pretending nothing had happened. Just silence. A clean, sharp silence that made every sound feel louder. Jackson walked into the kitchen in his socks, hair sticking up, Batman plushie tucked under one arm. He sat at the table slowly, like he was afraid to disturb the air. Mom, he asked, are we in trouble? That question almost shattered whatever was left of my heart. No, sweetheart, I said gently. We're not in trouble. We're just taking some space from people who hurt us. He nodded, but his little eyebrows pulled together like he was trying to make sense of a math problem that didn't add up. We made breakfast, scrambled eggs, toast, and he talked about superheroes, how they fix things, how they protect people. I wondered how a 7-year-old could carry so much disappointment with such quiet grace. Around 8:47, the doorbell rang. Jackson looked up. Who is it? No one we need to see, I said. I checked the peephole. She was there, standing on my porch in slippers and a winter coat over her bathrobe, holding a bright red gift bag like a peace offering she bought after thinking about it for exactly 5 minutes. She rang again, knocked, rang harder, knocked louder. Leslie, she called. I know you're in there. I didn't answer. I didn't move. Jackson watched me instead of the cartoons he was pretending to focus on. I stayed still until she set the bag down with a dramatic sigh and walked away. I counted to 60 before opening the door. Cold air rushed in around me. I picked up the bag. Inside were a hoodie, a stuffed bear, a small toy car. The receipt crumpled at the bottom showed the timestamp, 8:19 a.m. A real apology needs thought. This needed only panic. I drove the bag straight to Goodwill. When I got home, Jackson was curled on the couch. Was that Grandma? He asked. Yeah. What did she want? To give you presents. What did you do with them? I donated them, I said. He nodded, not sad, not confused, just accepting. Kids understand truths we think we're hiding. 2 days later, I stepped into his room and realized how small it suddenly looked. Dinosaur wallpaper from when he was 4, stickers peeling, a bed he'd long outgrown. Everything felt like a memory of a time before I understood how little my family valued him. Hey, buddy, I said, want to redo your room? His eyes widened. Redo it? Like, how? You get to pick, new bed, new paint, anything you want. His smile came slowly but fully, a sunrise kind of smile. Can I pick the color? Of course. At the hardware store, he picked a swatch of deep blue, the kind you only see in night sky photos. This one, he said. It looks like space. We painted for hours, music low on the speaker, my hand steady, his less so. Paint smudges on his cheeks, streaks on his shirt. Every time he made a mistake, he giggled and kept going. By dinner, 2 walls were done. He stepped back to look at it, eyes shining. It looks really good. It does, I agreed. Later, after he fell asleep on the couch, I stood in his doorway and stared at the half-painted walls. This was the first real step toward a life where he didn't have to feel small. On day 5, my email pinged. It was from Ashley. Mom's devastated. You're being cruel. Jackson needs his grandmother. You owe her an apology. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I typed, Mom bought your kids 36 presents and Jackson 0. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. I hit send. I didn't wait for a reply. I finished painting Jackson's ceiling that night. Glow-in-the-dark stars. I mapped constellations carefully, like building a universe for him, one dot at a time. The next day, when he walked in after school and saw the ceiling lit up, he froze. It's like real stars, he whispered. He lay on the bed, staring upward as tiny green constellations warmed the dark. Thank you, Mom. My throat tightened. You're welcome, baby. A few days later, I got a message from his teacher asking to talk privately after school. I panicked for a second. Did something happen? Jackson stood beside her desk, holding a folded piece of paper. It's my English assignment, he said. Would you like to read it? She asked gently. He nodded. His voice was small but steady. My mom shows up. She makes breakfast. She helps with homework. She painted my room blue with stars. She comes to every school thing. She never forgets. My grandma used to show up. Then she forgot about me on Christmas. Mom didn't forget. Mom never forgets. That's the difference. By the time he finished, Mrs. Rodriguez was wiping her eyes. I wasn't doing much better. Jackson folded the page with careful hands. Did I do okay? You did perfect, I whispered. We walked to the car holding hands, swinging them lightly. It was the first time all week he looked truly at ease. 3 days later, my boss called me into her office. You've been incredibly focused lately, Leslie, she said. We're promoting you to senior account manager. I blinked. Really? You earned it. Congratulations. On my lunch break, I called Jackson. Mom got a promotion. That's cool, he said. Does that mean pizza? Yes, I laughed. It absolutely means pizza. That night, he had sauce on his chin, a soda mustache, and he grinned like life was finally bright again. A week later, I saw the family group chat explode. We all know why Leslie is doing this. Mom forgot one present. She's tearing the family apart. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I simply posted the video, the 37 seconds showing every present Jackson didn't get. Then I left the chat. When I walked back into the living room, Jackson was stacking his new glow-in-the-dark star stickers on the table. Mom, he said, does Grandma miss us? I don't know. Do you miss her? I thought about that. Really thought. I miss who I wanted her to be, I said, but not who she actually is. He nodded thoughtfully. That makes sense. And just like that, he went back to his stars. Month 2 began with something I didn't expect. Calm. Not perfect calm, not peaceful calm, but the kind of quiet that comes after you finally put up a boundary and the world stops shaking for a moment. Jackson settled into his new room like he'd been waiting his whole life for it. He slept deeper, smiled more easily, he hummed when he colored. It was like I'd given him permission to breathe. I didn't realize I needed that permission too. One morning, I found him sitting at his desk, staring at the ceiling full of constellations. Do you think the real sky looks like this? He asked. Sometimes, I said. Sometimes it looks even better. He nodded slowly as if storing the thought away for later. Those weeks were full of small things that reminded me why walking away was right. Jackson laughing at breakfast, asking if we could add planets to his wall, running to the car after school because he wanted to tell me something first. His world was healing, and so was mine. But peace doesn't last long when guilt is chasing it. Around the 4-week mark, my mother tried a new tactic. Letters. Actual, handwritten letters, like she thought a pen on paper could erase everything she'd done. The first one came stuffed into a pastel card from the pharmacy aisle. Leslie, we need to talk. You're overreacting. Jackson needs stability, not your drama. Please call me. I threw it away without opening it fully. The second letter came the next day. Longer, more frantic. I love Jackson. You know I do. I made one mistake. You don't throw away family over one mistake. I didn't respond to that one either. My phone filled with calls I let slide, with texts I archived before reading. I was done performing emotional labor for people who couldn't be bothered to give my child one present on Christmas morning. One evening, Jackson came home and dropped his backpack harder than usual. What's wrong? I asked. He shrugged. At recess, some kids asked why we didn't go to Grandma's anymore. What did you tell them? That we don't go places where people forget I exist. I choked a little, caught between heartbreak and pride. And what did they say? They said that makes sense. He opened a juice box. I didn't want to talk about it anymore. I set a hand on his hair. You don't have to explain anything to anyone. He leaned into my arm lightly, just enough to show he believed me. 2 days later, life threw something else at us. Something unexpected. It was a Tuesday afternoon when my boss called me into her office again. My stomach dropped, thinking something was wrong, but she just smiled at me. "You've been doing incredible work," she said. "I'd like you to lead the upcoming client expansion project." My first reaction was disbelief. My second was a rush of warmth, like something inside me had finally stood up straight. "Thank you," I said. "I won't let you down." The project came with a pay bump and a more flexible schedule, and that meant one thing: more time with Jackson. When I told him that evening, he lit up. "Does that mean more movie nights?" "All the movie nights." He cheered like I'd just handed him the moon. But the quiet didn't last long. When families feel their control slipping, they don't get smaller. They get louder. The first sign was a missed call from Ashley, then 3 more, then one from my dad, then an email. "Mom's crying every day. You need to stop being cruel. Jackson deserves his grandmother." I read the email once, then again. Then I closed it and didn't respond. The next morning, I woke up to 32 notifications from the extended family group chat. People who hadn't talked to me in months suddenly had opinions. "We heard what happened. Your mom's devastated. It's only Christmas. Kids don't remember that stuff. You're overreacting. She loves Jackson. Talk it out like adults." I didn't say a word. Instead, I went to the kitchen, poured my coffee, and sat down on the couch. Then I opened the video, the one from Christmas morning. I uploaded it to the chat, added one sentence: "This is why." Then I left the group and blocked every number that wasn't necessary for my life. They chose their silence for years. I was choosing mine now. After that, the calls slowed. The messages softened. People who had always demanded my kindness suddenly wanted my patience, and I found I had none left for them. One afternoon, as Jackson did his homework at the dining table, he looked up and said, "It's quieter now." "It is," I said. "Do you like it?" I thought for a second. "Yeah, I do." He nodded like that answer mattered. A few days later, I got an email from his teacher asking to meet. Anxiety surged instantly. That's what motherhood does. But when I arrived, she smiled reassuringly and handed me a sheet of paper. "Jackson wrote this today. I thought you'd want to see it." It was titled, "Who Shows Up?" The same piece he'd read earlier in the year. But now he'd added a final line. "My mom shows up even when it's hard, and that makes me feel safe." I covered my mouth, swallowing hard. "Thank you for showing me." "He's a resilient kid," she said softly, "but he's resilient because he feels supported." When we got in the car, Jackson buckled his seatbelt slowly. "My teacher showed you my writing, huh?" "She did." "Is that okay?" "More than okay," I said. "I'm proud of you." He smiled and looked out the window. "Me too." As weeks passed, the calm grew stronger. Jackson laughed more. I slept better. Work felt purposeful again, not something to escape into. Life began feeling like a place we chose, not a place we were running from. But boundaries have a way of being tested right when you think you've settled into them. And just when I thought we were safe from the fallout of Christmas morning, an envelope appeared in my mailbox. Legal letterhead. A name I recognized, a family attorney my mother had used before. I opened it at the kitchen counter as Jackson built a Lego spaceship on the floor. Petition for grandparent visitation rights. Linda Moore versus Leslie Moore. My hands went cold. They were suing me. They were coming for my son. I read the words 3 times before the shock fully hit me. This wasn't guilt. This wasn't remorse. This wasn't reconciliation. This was war, and they had just declared it. When I first held that letter in my hand, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Fear. Raw, cold fear that crawled up my spine like ice water. It wasn't fear of losing. It was fear of the message behind it. They didn't want a relationship with Jackson. They wanted control. They couldn't stand that I had walked away, that I had chosen peace over performance. So they used the only weapon they had left. I folded the letter, placed it on the table, and sat down before my knees gave out. Jackson looked up from his Lego spaceship. "What's wrong?" "Nothing you need to worry about yet," I said softly. He nodded, trusting, and kept building. That trust, that was exactly what I had to protect. I called my attorney the next morning. She listened quietly as I explained, then said, "We'll fight this. Gather everything. Every message, every photo, every document that shows a pattern." I hung up and started pulling out the evidence I wished I never needed to have. The Christmas video, screenshots, the birthday cards she'd sent 2 months early with the wrong age, the emails, the voicemails, Jackson's assignments, notes from his teacher. By the time I was done, the folder was 3 inches thick, heavy in a way that made my chest ache, not just because of what it contained, but what it meant. This wasn't just my story anymore, it was my child's. Court was scheduled for September, 8 months away. 8 months of waiting, preparing, bracing. But life doesn't pause when you're terrified. Jackson thrived that spring. He joined a reading club, lost his first front tooth, grew half an inch. His classmates fought over who got to sit next to him at lunch. He laughed more, slept better, kept asking if we could repaint the hallway next. Every time he smiled, I felt both joy and grief. Joy because he was finally happy. Grief because he didn't know the storm brewing outside our little safe space. One afternoon, he came home and said, "Mom, can we start baseball again? I miss it." So we signed him up. His first game was cold and windy, the kind of day that makes you wish you stayed inside. But he ran onto that field like the world was cheering just for him. When he caught the ball for the first time, he looked toward the bleachers, at me, with a grin so big it made everything else disappear. After the game, he climbed into the car, still breathless. "Did you see my catch?" "I saw all of it," I said. "You were amazing." He kicked his cleats against the floor, glowing. "Grandma never came to my games," he said suddenly. "No," I said, "she didn't." "Do you think she would now?" "I don't know," I said honestly, "but it doesn't matter." "Why not?" "Because you don't need her there. You've got me." He considered that, nodding slowly. "Yeah," he said, "that's enough." Later that month, something unexpected shifted. My aunt called, her voice unusually gentle. "Your mom's not doing well. Stress, depression. She's struggling. She keeps saying she just wants to fix things." I didn't respond at first. "I'm not asking you to go," my aunt added. "Just letting you know." "Thank you," I said quietly. But I didn't call, didn't write, didn't check in. There's a difference between cruelty and clarity. I had learned that difference the hard way. By summer, the lawsuit hung over everything, a shadow even on good days. But Jackson made that shadow smaller just by being himself. One evening, he came into my office holding a drawing, him and me, holding hands, standing under a sky full of stars. "This is us," he said, "because you always show up." I didn't cry until he left the room. Then came the day of the hearing. A gray, heavy morning. Jackson wore a button-up shirt too big for him, sleeves rolled once. His hand stayed in mine the entire walk through the courthouse. We sat on one side of the courtroom, me, my attorney, Jackson, quiet between us. On the other side, my mother, Ashley behind her, my father, stiff and expressionless. When the judge walked in, everyone stood. The attorney representing my mother argued that I was withholding a loving grandmother, that I was alienating the child, that my mother deeply regretted her mistake on Christmas. A mistake. 8 months of panic, guilt-tripping, manipulation, packaged neatly into a single word. When it was our turn, my attorney didn't give a speech. She walked to the monitor, pressed play, and let the video say everything. 37 seconds, 36 presents, 0 for my son, 0 acknowledgement, 0 love. Silence filled the room after it stopped. My attorney set the wrong age birthday card on the judge's desk, then Jackson's writing assignment, then copies of ignored messages, proof of the pattern. The judge finally turned to my mother. "When is your grandson's birthday?" My mother froze. "March something? The 15th? And how old is he?" "9, she said. "He is 8, the judge replied, turning 9 next March." Then the judge looked at Jackson. "Would you like to speak?" He looked at me. I nodded. He stood, small but steady. "I don't want to see her," he said softly. "She forgot me. She forgot my birthday. She doesn't remember how old I am. My mom shows up. She doesn't." He sat back down, leaning into my arm. The judge didn't take long. She denied the petition, called it a clear pattern of inconsistent care, neglect, and lack of meaningful bond. Dismissed the case with prejudice, meaning they couldn't sue again. My mother cried. Ashley glared. My father shook his head as if I caused this, not them. Jackson and I walked out hand in hand into the sunlight. He squeezed my fingers. "Is it over?" he asked. "Yes," I said. "She can't make you go." He sighed. A long, relieved breath. "Good." I thought the worst was behind us. I was wrong. 2 weeks later, Jackson came home with red eyes. He dropped his backpack and stood in the doorway of the kitchen. "I saw Emma at Target," he whispered. "She ran up to me crying. She said I made Grandma sad." My stomach dropped. "What did you say?" "I said I didn't want to see Grandma anymore." He hesitated. She cried harder. He showed me a photo on his phone. Ashley had posted a picture of Emma crying, captioned, "When children are turned against their family by bitter parents." Jackson's lip trembled. Did I do something bad? I knelt in front of him. "No," I said. "You didn't do anything wrong. You just told the truth. She cried because she doesn't understand, not because of you." "Will she hate me?" She might be confused for a while, I said gently, but that's not your fault. Boundaries aren't painless, sweetheart. Sometimes protecting yourself hurts someone else. That doesn't make you wrong. He nodded, but the hurt stayed in his eyes. That night, after he fell asleep, I sat alone in the living room, lights off, stars glowing faintly from his room down the hall. Court had ended. The lawsuit was done, but the cost was still unfolding. And I realized boundaries don't create villains or heroes. They reveal them. After the court case, life didn't snap back into place all at once. Healing came slowly, the way dawn creeps in, quietly, gradually, without announcement. Jackson stopped bringing up the lawsuit after a few weeks, though sometimes I'd notice him watching other families at the park, studying them like he was trying to understand something adults still struggle with. One evening in early autumn, he sat beside me on the couch, feet tucked under a blanket, his head leaning on my shoulder. "Mom," he said softly, "are we bad people?" The question startled me. "Why would you think that?" "Because Emma cried," he said, "and Aunt Ashley said kids who don't want to see their family are ungrateful." I closed my eyes for a moment. Boundaries are clear, but the consequences often aren't. "Sweetheart," I said gently, "doing the right thing doesn't mean no one gets hurt. Sometimes the right thing hurts people who don't understand why you're doing it. That doesn't make you bad. It just makes the situation sad." He nodded slowly. "I don't like making people sad." "I know. And that's exactly why you're not the kind of person who belongs in their stories about villains." He leaned into me again, thinking, processing, growing all at once. As the months slipped by, something shifted in Jackson. He became quieter about family, not withdrawn, but resolved. He didn't bring up his grandmother anymore, not even in passing. It wasn't bitterness, it was acceptance. Acceptance that some people simply don't show up. Winter arrived, and with it came a strange peace. We decorated our tree in pajamas, played jazz Christmas songs, drank hot cocoa. There were presents under the tree, not mountains of them, not 40 boxes, but thoughtful gifts Jackson had mentioned casually over the year. Christmas morning came, and he opened each one with gentle excitement. Books, a science kit, a Lego rocket, a new bike helmet, a telescope he gasped over like it was magic. No chaos, no cousins stepping over him, no adults talking around him. Just us, quiet, happy. "This is the best Christmas," he said. "You say that every year," I teased. "Because it keeps being true." Later, while he built the rocket model at the dining table, I checked my mailbox. A single envelope sat inside, my mother's handwriting. I brought it inside, sat on the couch, and opened it carefully. "Leslie, I saw Jackson at your aunt's house 2 weeks ago. I didn't know he'd be there. I only saw him through the window. He's so big now, so grown. I know I won't get the chance to fix things with him, or with you. That's because of choices I made, not choices you made. I hurt you. I hurt him. I chose Ashley's kids because they were easier, because I understood them better. I thought love would work the same for everyone, and I was wrong. I won't write again. I won't ask you for anything. I just need you to know I'm sorry, truly. Not as your mother, just as someone who finally sees what she did. Linda." Not Mom. Just Linda. That felt more honest. I folded the letter gently, placed it in the drawer with the others, and sat there for a long moment. Not angry, not relieved. Just still. Later that night, Jackson came to my room holding a paper. "Can you read this?" It was a school assignment titled "What Family Means." Family isn't who you're born to. Family is who shows up. My grandmother forgot me. My mom remembered me. My Aunt Carol chose me. My Uncle Dave included me. That's my family now. Sometimes family changes, and that's okay. The people who matter stay. The people who don't, don't. I used to be sad about it, but now I'm glad I know the difference. My throat tightened. "This is beautiful," I said. "Are you mad?" he asked. "Why would I be mad?" "Because I said Grandma forgot me." "She did forget you," I said softly. "You told the truth." He breathed out slowly, relieved. "Okay." Time kept moving forward. Jackson got older, taller, wiser. He turned 11, then 12. He joined art camp, then robotics club. His smile grew more confident, his worries fewer. Then came the spring day that changed everything again. We were at a Knicks game, our tradition, when my phone buzzed with a message from Carol. "I think you should know. Your mother passed away this morning." I went still. Jackson looked at me. "What's wrong?" Nothing important, I whispered. Watch the game. He turned back, cheering at a three-pointer. My mother was dead, and I felt nothing. Not joy, not grief, not guilt. Just a quiet finality, the kind that comes from a door that already closed years ago. We drove home after the game, Jackson talking the whole ride about the players and the crowd and the cotton candy he insisted wasn't too much. I nodded, listening, present. The next morning, my phone rang. Ashley, I answered. She's dead, she said, voice shaking. Mom's dead. And you didn't visit, you didn't call, you didn't even try. I closed my eyes. We made our choices. She died thinking you hated her. I didn't hate her, I said quietly. I just didn't let her hurt my son. This is your fault, she snapped. The stress destroyed her. No, I said. Her choices destroyed her, not mine. She hung up. I made breakfast. Jackson ate quietly. After a few minutes, he asked, Who was that? Aunt Ashley. What did she want? I hesitated, then chose honesty, the only thing that had ever kept us grounded. Grandma passed away yesterday. Jackson set his fork down. Oh, are you okay? I asked. He thought for a long moment. I'm not sad, he said. Is that bad? No, I said. That's honest. He nodded. Are you sad? No, I said, because she stopped being my mom a long time ago. Before I set the boundary, she had already let go of us. You can't mourn something that wasn't there. He processed that quietly, then picked up his fork again and kept eating. He asked if we were going to the funeral. Do you want to go? I asked. He shook his head. Not really. Then no, I said. We didn't attend. No flowers, no card, no apology, no performance. Just peace, the kind she never gave us. Summer came. Jackson started art classes, filling sketchbooks with planets, buildings, faces. His world grew brighter. He asked fewer what-if questions and more what's next ones. On the night before school started again, he hugged me tightly. Mom? Yeah? Thank you for choosing me. I pulled him into my arms. Always, I whispered. Always. Later, after he went to bed, I opened my drawer, pulled out all 4 of my mother's letters, and walked to the fireplace. Not out of anger, not for revenge, but for closure. I lit a match, watched the paper curl and darken, watched her handwriting vanish in the flames, watched the past dissolve into ash. When the fire died down, the room felt lighter. I turned off the lights, checked Jackson's room. He was asleep under the ceiling of stars we'd painted years ago, the first sign of a new life. And I realized something simple and profound. Showing up every day without fail is what love really looks like. And I had shown up. Every moment, every milestone, every day. For him. That was enough. That was everything. The rest was just noise.